The Chicagoland area has a large number of lonely dogs currently filling shelter pens, just waiting to find a family. Nothing adds warmth to a home like a wagging tail and a warm pair of brown eyes. If you are considering adding a dog to your household,
we're good now? Okay. Welcome everybody here to the X-Pub Sports Live show. My name is Andrew Valentin. I hope you're all having a magical Monday. We are coming to you live here from the Illinois Media School here in I almost said Lombard, in the O'Hare campus. Sorry. I hope everybody out there is having a wonderful day. It's starting to get hot outside, so I hope you're able to stay cool out there, everybody, and maybe even enjoy the nice day while we still got it. But, ladies and gentlemen, it has been a hot couple of minutes since we've been able to speak about some sports, and some big things have happened, particularly in the world of basketball, and that's what we're going to be focused on for the primary portion of this show, and then we're going to get ourselves into some of your fan questions that pertain to sports as well, and then we're going to get ourselves out of here. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're ready for this. Antonio, are you ready to rock and roll? It should be. I hope everybody... Okay, all right. We're good, folks. We're good. Are you good? Okay. Without further ado, then, ladies and gentlemen, let's get this one started. And let's start off with Monday. Oh, Monday, ladies and gentlemen. Last Monday, the NBA Finals took place, and boy, interestingly enough, you think maybe a series is going to go one way, and then obviously a team is able to come back, and then next thing you know, stays on the script. Because if you don't know, Boston Celtics winning their 18th title in the history of the NBA, beating the Mavericks 106-88, pretty dominant fashion. Obviously, pretty big moment, I would say, for the Celtics for sure to overall round themselves out. I was very impressed with them for sure from top to bottom. They are a very impressive team. There's no denying that. They are incredibly talented from their two stars, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, all the way throughout their bench even. They've got guys that can make plays everywhere. And this series, it's interesting because we've got two teams. One of them's one of those premier franchises of the league. The other one is kind of, I guess you would say, they're still like a hot young thing, if you will. Maybe that's the wrong words to use, but they still feel like they're relatively new to the NBA in some sort of fashion, right? They've been around for years now, but because of who Luka is and Kyrie is, and their young team, and they have a lot of faster players, they feel like they're kind of one of those teams that they just feel like it's like a brand new car, right? It drives well. It feels right. It hits the road good. Gas is great. All that stuff is fantastic. Excuse me. The Celtics, on the other hand, they feel like that old roadster that just, for some reason, it won't go away, right? 25 years running, but you're really only driving to a short span, right? They're not really burning too much gas. You're not putting a lot of mileage on that thing. Every once in a while, you might drive it a little bit farther. But overall, for what this series was, it was the Celtics being methodic. They were really choice, really agile, really picky with how they wanted to play. Obviously, they had a pretty big blowout against Dallas when they lost 122-87 or whatever it was, right? It was a huge, massive blowout. A lot of people thought, well, maybe Boston's gassed. Maybe they don't have it, right? A lot of people started giving it to Luka and Kyrie and saying, hey, those guys can come on and make big plays. Now, you can't deny the fact that those guys are big-time playmakers and big-time shot makers, but I would say overall, for what we saw in this series, it was the coaching of Joe Mazzulla combined with the all-out effort that Boston gave on both sides of the court, combined with, as well, Dallas's, how do I say this? Trying to find the right words. I guess young ineptitude. I guess maybe would be the right thing to say. Because he's a young player and he doesn't think about things all the way through, like arguing with the refs, calling for bad calls, not really giving a lot of effort on defense, right? A lot of things that have really hurt Luka so far in his career where, is he one of the top players in the league? I think a lot of people would argue to say so, yeah. But I think there's also a lot of people who would go off and say, oh, well, Luka would probably compare very well to Carmelo Anthony, right? Carmelo Anthony is a guy who, for the most part, we remember him as a scoring guy. He'll go to the Hall of Fame, I would think, and will likely be one of those players that we remember more for his offense ever than we will his defense. He hardly ever did play defense, and that was because he always had guys that could support him defensively. But I think Luka's lack of maturity, that's kind of what I was looking for. Lack of maturity, if you will, as a player, still, it hurts him. And it hurts the team, right? Shake off the calls, let the hits come, let these little bits and pieces kind of go where they can, and then eventually you'll get yourself to that next level, right? That's the ploy, that's the plan. So overall, I mean, look, for what Celtics did, I mean, congratulations to them. They'll be able to play it out. They'll be able to be functioning on that whole system and everything. Hopefully, we'll see where Boston lands at. I have a lot of questions as far as the roster goes. I think they're going to be a little bit dismantled at some point. They're going to need to have some decisions to make about Derek White and guys like Kristaps Porzingis, how to keep those individuals intact, right? Dallas has all the time in the world to be able to build their roster up and have their superstar shine. It's Boston that's going to need to be able to put together a roster that's going to be able to compete very soon, very quickly. That's going to be the plan. That's going to be the ploy, I think, for them going forward. Overall, I give it to Boston. Congratulations. They win their 18th title. Will this be a dynasty? It could be. But it's going to be very hard for me to be able to say it is a dynasty overall right now because I don't necessarily believe that this is going to be that roster that can, in time, put everything in place for years and years and years to come, especially when you're paying your top two players $300+ million, which seems to be the outcome that's going to be coming. But we'll see. We'll see. If anybody can figure it out, I would say it'd be the Celtics. Everybody else uses rusty judgment for money. Boston's always been the one that's been able to say, spend wise, find the right pieces, make everything fit, go off and win a playoff, win a championship. They've done it before. Why can't they do it again? Congratulations to the Celtics. We'll see what happens, though. They got a long ways to go still before they can call themselves a dynasty. Long ways. Right now, they feel like the '08 Celtics. Maybe they can get themselves back into contention where they can be those teams like the '80s. But still a ways to go. All right, so outside of that, obviously a lot of talk on the West Coast. Their opposing team, we talked about the Lakers. Obviously, Dan Hurley turns down the job. They need a new head coach. Well, hey, they decided to go back to the well that didn't dry up just yet and say, hey, JJ, we always thought that you were our number one. We always felt that you were our guy, and, we love you. And sure enough, JJ Redick is the new head coach of the Lakers, gets a 4-year deal. Numbers aren't exactly there in place, but JJ Redick is now the new head coach of the Lakers, going from the analyst booth to the sidelines of one of the pristine, premier, if not the top franchise in the NBA, which, boy, I'll be honest, I don't know about this move. I mean, it looks good on paper because everybody compares it to the Steve Kerr situation, right? They compare it to Jason Kidd, a lot of these other, former player that was an analyst or, that was really smart, really decisive, knows a lot about basketball. Well, he's got to make a good coach, right? Well, everybody thought Steve Nash was going to be a good coach, and look how that turned out. He hasn't gotten a head coaching job since. And you could argue that he did as fair a job as he could with what Brooklyn gave him. But I don't know where I sit at right now with the Lakers situation at this point, because LeBron is getting older. AD is, I think, kind of at a point where he's still a top player when he's healthy, but how much longer is he going to be able to be healthy when he's on the other side of 30, right? Talented as he might be, the rest of the roster, not very good, very average, right? Austin Reeves, average. Right? Hachimura, average. There's not a lot of guys that really pop off the court for them, right? D'Angelo Russell is maybe the only guy on that team that can actually contribute in some sort of meaningful way, but nobody likes him. And when your team doesn't like each other, there's not going to be any chemistry, so how do you win? How do you be competitive? I have serious concerns about where the Lakers are going at right now because I thought Dan Hurley could certainly be the guy, but he turned that down because I think he likes it on the East Coast. I think he likes the fact that he could be a college dynasty, right? You win a third straight title, you've done something that nobody's really done in the history of college except for a few times, right? In all of college basketball, men or women's, nobody's done it like Dan Hurley has. If he pulls off a third straight title, a three-peat puts you up there with some of the greatest coaches, I would say, of all time. And that might be early to say for some people, but considering the fact that he's taken UConn from what was a bottom-rung team to the very top, that's saying something. That being said, can JJ do the job for the Lakers? I think he certainly could, but he's going to have to be mainline focus on basketball completely. Podcast off. Opportunities with, brand managing, all that stuff, gone. Broadcast booth is obviously out. You can't focus on any of that stuff. It's got to be full-time go on basketball. And here's the other thing. You can't play favorites. You do a podcast with LeBron. Cool, man. You can't be friends with him. You've got to have a working relationship. Right? You've got to be able to kind of slam your foot down and say, I'm the boss. I'm not a boss per se in that, like, I run the show kind of thing. Well, I run the show here. But I don't usually have to put my foot down, but there's been times where I've had to. Like, hey, I'm the boss. I got something to say. This is what I say, and this is how I want it done. At my other job, in my other jobs, that's kind of how I have to do it, right? Being a producer, being a director, stuff like that, that's what it really comes down to. You've got to put your foot down. You've got to be able to say, hey, this is how I want it. This is how I want it done. If you don't get it done, we're going to have issues. And JJ Redick has to kind of be that guy for LeBron James and the Lakers. You've got to be able to put your foot down and say, hey, guys, look, you got to listen to me. You got to pay attention to me. I know I'm only so far removed from being a player, but they have to be able to look at him as coach and not buddy JJ Redick, former player JJ Redick. He's got to be head coach JJ Redick. And I don't know if I think LeBron can because he's mature enough to do it. I think Anthony Davis can. It's the rest of the team like a D'Angelo Russell. It's Hachimura. It's these other guys that I don't really have a sixth sense about, I would say, that you can't really get a vibe on. Well, are they going to listen to him or not? Austin Reeves might, but Austin Reeves is a very basic player. And the Lakers really need to be able to get that third star in there to help LeBron when he's tired and Anthony Davis when he's hurt. And I don't know if the Lakers have that kind of attraction now with a guy like JJ Redick or not. Like, yeah, he's young. He's the hot shot. He knows a lot about basketball. But you're trying to sell, like, a discount Steve Kerr to everybody or a discount Jason Kidd. But I don't know if he's that guy. Yeah, he wasn't a starter, which is good because starting point guards and guards don't usually make the best coaches. Point guards usually do. But like a lot of people have said, well, Sam Cassell is a much better coach by a lot of standards, right? He had a lot better acolytes to his name and accolades to his name, I should say. Acolytes, that Disney show, the Jedi show, whatever. But he has more accolades to his name. He's got a better resume all the way through and through than JJ does, right? JJ's only thing from what I saw was that he was an assistant coach for a boys basketball team for like youth basketball, right? That was it. And now he's got the Laker job. He's an analyst. He knows a lot about the game. He knows the deep entrails about how the NBA works. He's been coached by a lot of good coaches. But can he transition from the booth to the bench and be the man in charge? Because you can have a lot of good ideas on television. Like, I have a lot of good ideas on television, and I'm sure the guys over there, everybody who's talking sports on these shows has a lot of good ideas about what these teams should and shouldn't do in any sport. But are any of us going around claiming that we could be coaches and GMs? Some maybe. Some might be that arrogant and egotistical to say, well, I could run a franchise. I'm sure you think you could, but considering everything that goes involved in it, I doubt you could. I doubt you could handle doing the day-to-day assignments of being a head coach, where you have to coach the guys during practice, get them ready for a game, coach them during the game, and then you have to scout and be ready for the next game. Especially in the NBA, where you know that the same guys are going to usually be out there every single time, but there might be a few different pieces here and there that come off the bench, and you have to be prepared for those. And you've got 82 games you have to be prepared for, both home and away. And you have to prepare the practice schedule. You have to do, there's so many different things. Can JJ handle that? I don't know. I don't honestly believe that. My honest opinion is I don't think JJ Redick can handle the situation of being a head coach at the NBA level. He is a talented man as far as what he has in his brain. He was talented as a player, but that does not always transition well to being a head coach. We've seen it before. I do think Sam Cassell was the better option. I do think Dan Hurley should have been their top option, but Dan Hurley said no. They passed on Sam Cassell. They took JJ Redick. I think a lot of that might be to please LeBron James. I would hope that's not the case. But Rob Pelinka and Jeannie Buss, they're the ones that sign off on this stuff, right? I feel like it was Jeannie Buss that really wanted JJ Redick. I feel like Rob Pelinka maybe more wanted Dan Hurley because it said that Dan Hurley and Rob Pelinka had a really good conversation at the draft. But that's the problem here. There's no communication as far as, and there's no clear-cut idea of who's in control of what for the Lakers, where everybody else is kind of like a tight-knit web of like you can follow the line as far as who's in command, right? The Lakers are like this, like they're spider's web, right? They're that, was it the diamond, the pentagram, whatever you want to call it? That's like devil stuff. I don't know, but whatever, right? Everybody's all over the place and everybody's interconnected here, there, and everywhere. There's no clear line of control and command of who's in charge and who's calling the shots, and I think that hurts them desperately. And that's what leads to a decision like this being made where, could JJ work? Yes, Redick could absolutely be that player or that coach that maybe changes the Lakers' fortune. Maybe he is Steve Kerr. But I'd lean more towards he's Steve Nash, where the basketball mindset is there. It's whether or not this guy can transition to being the man in control of all these players or not. That's where I have major concerns. But we're going to find out. The Lakers have a hard offseason still to make some prime moves on. LeBron, AD, a lot of their players going to the bench. They've got a draft coming up. Will they take Bronny? Won't they take Bronny? There's a lot of ifs, maybes, and buts that have to be answered before we can say the Lakers are going to win a title. That's for sure. All right, but away from the Lakers, let's turn to the Chicago Bulls real quick because I'm going to break through this story real fast because if you don't know, two-time all-defensive player for the Chicago Bulls, the guard, Alex Caruso, officially been moved on from. Yes, he's gone, ladies and gentlemen. He's leaving the city of Chicago. Alex Caruso is officially leaving the Chicago Bulls. He's being traded to the Oklahoma City Thunder. In exchange, the Thunder are getting player Josh Giddey. Yes, that's right. Josh Giddey is going to be the new combo guard, I guess, for the Bulls. That's the plan, which certainly for a lot of people, I'm sure there's anger, disgust, rage from what I can gauge when this move happened, right? Because it happened very, very fast. Nobody was prepared for it. I have seen those, though, that I actually kind of side with, like Michael Wilbon, who said, look, the Bulls are trying to get younger. Alex Caruso was going on his last year of deal, and he was going to warrant potentially a $80 million extension, which the Bulls are going to have to pay, more than likely, to keep him, because he's talented for sure. So trading him now to get talent like a Josh Giddey is there. And Josh Giddey is a young guy with unlocked potential who's certainly grown more as a shooter, but he's streaky from the three-point, of course. He's a playmaker as far as assists go. He has the ability to go and grab rebounds, play adequate, decent defense at times. He's very long and quick. That's a lot of his plus side. He's the size of about a forward that can play point guard. But he's really more of a shooting guard, I would say, I guess, at this point. And look, I get it, right? Alex Caruso's been a main man who's never been in trouble. He's all defensive player. He adds a lot of value to the team coming off the bench. Who is Josh Giddey? Well, Josh Giddey was a top 10 pick that really hasn't lived up to the hype in the last 3 years he's been playing with the Thunder. And obviously he comes with some baggage, right? For those that don't know, Josh Giddey was involved in a alleged rumor mill that was going around about him having a relationship potentially with an underage minor. Now, nothing from that has been proven. I'm not defending him in any way. I'm saying simply from where we stand at right now, there is no evidence to prove that this actually happened with some sort of relationship. I believe that she was underage, but Right now, as far as it stands, nothing has been proven on that. Again, though, not saying it's right or wrong or anything like that. I'm just stating what's been out there, okay? So I understand there's going to be people that are disgusted with this move on that level and on the fact that he's not maybe as great a player as Alex Caruso, although he does score more points. He gets about as maybe more rebounds. I would say he's probably about as good a passer as there is. He's a playmaker, and what the Bulls need right now are young, talented playmakers. That's it. They have no choice in this matter. Lonzo Ball is most than likely gone. There's a lot of rumors about the Bulls potentially trying to be an attractive place for free agents to go to, but there's nobody really out there of great value that they could go get that's going to help add anything to this team that's going to take them from level 2 to level 5 to level 10. This is not a championship roster. They are so middle of the road. What was it I heard? I believe it was on 670 The Score. I think it was Lawrence Holmes who called them a dinner theater. Where, like, you eat, you watch them, they're nice to watch, and you go, oh, yes, very good. Yes, bravo, yes, of course. Right? As you eat your meal. It's like going to medieval times, right? Eat with your hands, you get a dinner and a show. But, at the end of the day, you're just kind of there for the entertainment value of it. You're not really investing anything into this. It's just kind of a thing to do. So, I understand where people are upset with this, that it doesn't look good for the Bulls. But ultimately, if this does pay off in the long run, at this point, what does it matter if it pays off for the Bulls now or not? They're not winning anything. This is all based on an idea of them being a better team long term. That's the goal. That's the gig, right? That's where they need to be at. The Bulls need to be thinking about their collective future for now, or for the future, I should say, and the now should just kind of be like, all right, let's take our time, pace ourselves out, and see what happens. That's the goal, that's the gig, that should be the idea. That should be what's in place. Nothing more, nothing less. If the Bulls want to be able to be successful, they have to make some hard calls. And it's been great having Alex Caruso. That's cool. But he's 30. He's going to warrant a giant contract. Can you pay that? I don't think they should have paid Levine at the end of the day, hindsight being 2020. I don't think they should have paid Vucevic. I don't think they should be paying DeMar DeRozan. But they've got to look somewhat competitive, or they're going to have to tank and let it all leak out and possibly see guys like Kobe White go away, and then where are the Bulls at? In some way, they have to keep some sort of talent on the team. In other ways, though, yeah, you can let the team rot away and then try and be good. But then at that point, I would tell Bulls fans, start looking for a new team, because it's going to be like 10 years before the Bulls actually become a good team. Trust me. I'm already scouting out the different teams in the NBA, trying to figure out who I want to go to next. And I'm leading towards the Spurs. Wembanyama's a really cool player. I like him. I'm basing a lot of my decisions now off of what I like comparative to players instead of where I live, because I pay taxes. I'm a person. I don't have to love every Chicago team just because I was born in Illinois. Screw the White Sox. Screw the Blackhawks. They all stink. They're all terrible. I'm not going to put up with teams that, let me put it in this way for everybody that, to understand. Being in a relationship with teams in Chicago, right? It is like a relationship. It's a lot like dating that person who you give chocolates, you give flowers, you give it all to, right? You give all the love in the world to, and they find every way possible to break your heart. Maybe that's an over-exaggeration, but I'll tell you what. I've had my heart broken enough times at this point that I said, you know what? It's time to move on. And trust me, in my own life, I've done that too many times where you stay, and it's never good. But you stay because for some reason you have an attraction to that person, and that person has an attraction to you, I guess you would assume in some way, but it's for all the wrong reasons. And you shouldn't be in a relationship for all the wrong reasons. So I'm out. Not to say I won't go to their games. I have. But I just can't do it anymore. And quite frankly, I'm an adult. I pay taxes. I'll do what I want. If I were 5 and 6, maybe it's a different story. But even then, You have the freedom of will to choose whatever you want, right? Just like you have the freedom of will to choose whoever you want to date, whoever you want to go out with. I don't want to go out with the Bears anymore. I don't want to go out with the Blackhawks and the White Sox anymore. I'll go see them, and I'll wave to them, and I'll be like, I'm glad you guys are in a better relationship now. That's cool. But I'm over here with them now, and we're happy. We're all happy, and that's what counts. Does that make sense to you, Antonio? I don't. Okay. I know it's weird. I know it's kind of offhand to be like, is it really that serious? It's really not. It's really not. But it's a way I kind of view it. I don't want to be disappointed by teams anymore, so I'm just not going to. I'm just going to decide I'm going to go out with somebody that's going to make me happy. I'm going to go out with a team that makes me happy. And I think that's important. Would you agree? Okay. In all, do what makes you feel best. Be with who you love, be it a person, a team, whatever it is. Take that life advice, if you will. Let's skip the commercial real quick because I know we have some limited time right now. And let's rip through these questions real fast, ladies and gentlemen. So, apologies. Classes are going on, so we want to get out of here as soon as we can for these classes. So let's get into these questions real quick. Again, these are fan questions. If you guys want to ask these fan questions, you can hit us up again. This is at xbsportsofficial@gmail.com. We love your questions. We love your comments. We appreciate it, you guys. Thank you, as always, so much for asking these questions. Please keep them coming. We leave the likes, leave the loves, all kind of stuff. Yes. Of course, at XBomb Sports on Twitter and Instagram, where you guys can hit us up as well. Always the YouTube side, the Twitch side as well. That's youtube.com/XBombSports, twitch.tv/XBombSports. You can hit us up there too for all those kind of things. So let's get to these questions real quick. We'll answer them, and then we'll get out of here very fast. So first question we've got here, ladies and gentlemen, this comes from Daniel. Daniel is a parent, and he is asking us, I've got a daughter who is currently playing soccer. I'm looking for every opportunity to try and get her a scholarship. She's about to go into her junior year, so obviously college is a hyper-focus for us right now. My question is, where do you think is the best opportunity for us to be able to try and help her try and get a scholarship to be able to go to college? So this is something I do. This is what I do. I help kids put together highlight tapes to be able to get them into college. I send out those tapes then to schools to help them get recruited and stuff. I never make a promise that they're going to be able to go to the school that they want, but I promise that I will always try and get schools interested in your kid to be able to have an opportunity, be it a scholarship, not a scholarship, but a chance and a moment to be able to possibly play in that sport at that level if they can. If not, they may have to drop a few levels, but it's still an opportunity if they want it. My best suggestions I would make, because you and I have already talked offline, Daniel, so we're going to have more discussion. I am helping you out here because I want to be able to help your daughter be able to get to college and play college soccer if she wants to. Film everything as much as you can, right? Get all the film you can from the school, film anything you can yourself, film her at her individual practices if she has them, get film from the practices if you can, gather all as much film as you can so that this way, whoever's doing the editing, which will in this case be myself, I'm going to help you out there, Daniel, I can put together all the little pieces, all the little bits that show her at her best, because that's what the highlight tape always needs to show. Her scoring goals, getting assists, getting opportunities to get on the breakaway, showing her toughness, showing her ability to defend. Everything that we need to look for in her sport needs to be highlighted at all expenses. So if you have a kid out there, every piece of tape you can to get them at the best level. Show their best. Show their stuff. I'll tell you right now, when I was going through the recruiting process myself, I had all stuff that my father had filmed for my JV football games. I took it to a coach who did it as a favor to edit it all together. I had 7 total plays where I looked at my best. And those 7 plays were enough to get me partial scholarships to 3 different schools, which is cool and it's awesome and it's great. So it doesn't take a lot. It's just you need to have as much as you possibly can to show something. Again, these were small level schools, Division II schools. So the more highlights you have, the better schools that you can potentially get to. The other thing is as well, study. Get the grades up. Keep grinding at it. I know school doesn't seem as much importance because of NIL and all that stuff, but there's no guarantee you're going to get NIL, that you're going to go Division I. I hate to break your heart to your daughter out there, and I'm not trying to, because it's still possible, but you have to also still think outside the box, right? Going to Stanford, Cal, USC, going to Notre Dame, going to, all these top Division I schools. That's great. That's awesome. We all want to go to the best schools, right? I'd love to go to Northwestern. I don't have the grades to go to Northwestern. I never did. So I went to a smaller school. And then obviously that didn't work out. I went to a junior college where I probably should have went in the first place. And obviously I ended up at a trade school. Best decision I ever made. Everybody goes down a different career path. Everybody chooses a different line of how you get to where you get, right? I don't know if she'll ever go pro. I can't promise you that either. If she works hard enough, if she goes to the right school, if she performs correctly, she probably could. But a lot of it is going to come down to highlight tapes. It's going to come down to her grades. It's also going to come down to outside curricular stuff as well, too. Schools are looking at that stuff, and so are coaches. How involved is she with the community? How involved is she with the team? How much is she involved with the school? What is she doing outside of that? Because they're no longer looking for just student athletes. They're looking for players with personality. And if you have that, you have the opportunity to be able to help develop that more. Have her make contact with coaches. I'm going to help her with that as well. But don't be afraid to send your highlight tape out as well and say, hey, this is my tape. Here's an email about who I am. Please check it out and let me know who I am. I sent my tape to numerous coaches across the country, to schools that I knew I probably wasn't going to get into. But I sent them out there anyways because you never know. Somebody might be making a reference to somewhere. Somebody might let somebody else know, hey, we got this kid who's looking for football. You might want to check him out. You have to take it all into consideration. It's what I tell a lot of the people here, right? Apply for jobs that may not seem like they're in your value range per se, right? Yeah, you may not be in line to in the experience to be a director right off the bat, but apply for it. You never know. They might be looking for somebody who's got the raw talent. They might be willing to take a chance. And if not, they've got your resume on file all of a sudden. So when they look back and they're looking for another director, they might go and say, hey, this person applied. They seem to have some experience here. Let's check it out. It's the same thing. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Don't be afraid to go for a little bit more. Those would be my say for not just you, Daniel, but for all parents that are looking to get your kids recruited. And the other thing I'm going to say, please, parents, please, I'm begging you, do not be helicopter parents. Let your kids make their own decisions. This is their decision. I know you want to be a part of it. I know you want to influence it. I know you want them to go to certain places. Please let your kids make your own decisions. The best thing my parents did, they let me choose what college I went to. They did not push me to go to college. They wanted me to go to college, but they did not make me pick what college I had to go to. They allowed me to choose what college I wanted to go to. I made the wrong decision. I will say hindsight, but they allowed me to make that choice, and that was my choice. That's what your kids need to be able to do. So if you're a parent out there who's really like, God, I want my son to go to Northwestern. I really want my daughter to go to Wisconsin. I really want my daughter to go to USC. I really want my son to go to Texas. Guys, let your kids go to whatever school they can get into. Let them explore the possibilities. They may not be good enough for Texas and USC and Notre Dame and Northwestern, but they might be good enough for Calumet College, or they might be good enough for Saginaw Valley or Briarcliff University or any of these schools that are lower range. But it's still an opportunity, and it could come with a scholarship. So I would those are the 4 things off the bat that I would say for any parents out there looking to try and get their kids to that next level. Pay attention. Listen. Right? I'm giving you those examples. These are just from my perspective, right? Other people might have other values they want to put out there, but these are the 4 things. I hold up eight fingers. These are the 4 things that I believe that you need to be able to do as a parent to help your kid get recruited. Again, I'm not promising them Division I, but I am promising that I think no matter what, you will find them a school. If you do those 4 things as a parent to help your kid, and your kid does those 4 things as well, they will get into school. They will find an opportunity. If that's what they want to do, they will find an opportunity. There's a school out there for everybody. Trust me. You don't have to go to the biggest program. You don't have to go to MIT and Harvard now to be able to run a business and create a business and be the CEO and make a lot of money. Anybody can do it. I went to a trade school, okay? Am I a millionaire? No. Am I going to get there? Hopefully. Eventually. Be nice. It's not my goal in life. But my goal in life is eventually have my own business. Make this my business. And I'm getting there. Slowly but surely, I'm getting there. And I hope I can be able to take a lot of these people with me along the ride because they deserve it. God knows they deserve it. But I went to a completely off-brand school from the usual college. And you know what? Great decision for me. Appreciate the question. All right. I think we're going to leave it there, ladies and gentlemen, because of timing. We have one more question, but you know what? We'll save that question for a later date. So real quick, everybody, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for listening. I'm sorry that this was a shorter show, but again, timing, we want to make sure that these students are able to get in here and listen. So I didn't want to go too late on this, but thank you all so much for watching, listening. Again, if you guys want to follow me anymore, I'm at The Fluffy Guru on Instagram and Twitter. On Twitter, I'm at Boom Crew Captain on Instagram. I also changed my name funny to Boom Crew Captain on Snapchat as well. So if you guys want to follow me there too, I did some cookout stuff over the weekend. So that's mostly what you're going to find me doing a lot of on there. That and then I don't know. I usually post some random stuff every once in a while. So you can follow me on there as well. Also, too, guys, if you want to check us out anymore, obviously, X-Bomb Sports on the YouTube side, youtube.com/XBomb Sports, and we're also on the Twitch side as well. That's twitch.tv/XBomb Sports. If you guys want to see any more of our social media, we are on at XBomb Sports on Twitter and on Instagram as well. We're going to be doing more updates, more stuff like that for the future here. And if you guys want to check out any more of our stuff as well, and it's because any more questions and things like that, you can also hit us up as well at xbsportsofficial@gmail.com. And again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for listening. Thank you all so much for watching. We will see you guys next week for another show. We may go a little bit extra early just in case so we can get out of here a little bit more ahead of time for these guys to be able to go. But again, thank you all so much for listening. Thank you all so much for watching. And as always, much love. Peace out, Moon Crew.
The Chicagoland area has a large number of lonely